Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is November 8th, 2023. What a magnificent run that we have had. Looks like we're cooling down ever so slightly on the, I guess, pre-game, if you will, of Powell giving yet another speech. You can only imagine that the market is sitting there going, I wonder if he's going to say the same thing that he said last time, and we're going to react the same way that we did last time. It's a great question. Really, really great question. As far as overall news and suches and whatnots, mixed bag when it comes to EVs. Lucid in the toilet, Rivian to the upside. What else do we have? Upstart didn't really produce all that great numbers, which is, I think, fairly interesting when you look at everything overall. Data is kind of lacking today, but we do have Mr. Powell and about 75 other Fed speakers popping off today. Today is, what is it, Wednesday, which is usually chop and slosh. Usually we chop and we slosh around on Wednesdays. Stonkington, sunny. You guys have anything exciting you want to share this morning?
No,
No. Man says no.
no.
Stonk says no. All right. So areas that I'm going to look at, I'll talk about SPY in particular. This area around 438 could be a little bit sticky as far as getting up and over. So that's about 10, 12 handles up on the ES if you're looking in that range, maybe more like 20, just depending. That area and through there could be a little bit thick. There's actually a gap sitting there on SPY on the daily that I don't believe is quite filled yet, around that 438, 439-ish level. So that's going to be an area that you kind of look to see what's going to happen. Overall this morning, I would say price action has been very, very weak, with the exception of you get some little momentum explosions to the upside. And that's kind of the way it's been sitting. This area also on SQQQ, it does not want to break below 18 for whatever reason. It is pretty solid in that level. So 18 above below type thing is kind of looking at the overall NASDAQ and QQ, however you want to play it out as far as being, I don't want to call it a pivot, but it's pretty damn close to being a pivot. From the standpoint of what we might see moving forward within the day. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of conversation about market dynamic shift, which we did have based on the federales. Today's speech is going to kind of give the idea of whether or not that was the right take to have. Whether or not we're going to continue to move higher and start gravitating up, knowing that rates are no longer going to be going up. They can stay flat. They can stay up here. But the Fed can't throw any more on it. Otherwise, we go down, and we go down hard, and we go down fast. Outside of that, the dollar did put on a little rally this morning. It has kind of moved up, but it could be triple topping in through here at the same time. Again, dollar, kind of a big deal. We want to take a look at commodities. Crude down yet again. Gold down, it's flat to down again. Silver's up nicely. Copper down. And then if we want to jump into crypto a little bit, crypto, had a nice explosion to the upside yesterday. We're up and over 35,000 on the Bitcoin. And some of that flow has been, I would say, a little bit mixed when it comes to the miners, but the miners do report this week. So I think that's something to kind of pay attention to. This and next week, as far as how they react, your Maras and your riots and your suches and whatnots along those lines. Outside of that, if we want to get into some of the global markets and the things that we saw overnight and into today, I would say it was a fairly mixed bag, but everything, for the most part, was trying to work to the upside. I think a lot of it right now, Sonny and Stonk, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, is kind of based on however we're moving. The markets, the global markets, are kind of following. I think that a lot of that is going to be based on our monetary policy. I was surprised, though, however, to see China not able to really get going with all of the pump that appears to be going into it, as far as, hey, they're going to do everything they can to make it right.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to do a lot of stimulus type. They don't want to use the word stimulus, but
Hmm.
they are putting a lot of money into trying to prop the markets up, the economy up, because it's going in the other direction for whatever reason.
Well, I think the reason it's pretty strong. It's like it is. I think and it's very valid. It's like on any given day, Xi can.
Biden and G
Yeah, Xi wakes up and is like, "Oh, we're going to throw
meeting.
somebody in jail, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z." Right? It's like that's that's just the risk that you play over there with it. Now, it would appear that they're going to try to do something, but in a lot of ways, son, just just two dudes talking. The damage that I think they've done over the last several years is fairly intense. From the extended COVID lockdown to the beatdown of their, I'm putting in quotation marks, capital markets and anything related to capitalism in any capacity, they've made it very difficult for anybody to be like, yeah, you know what, this is a good place to park money. This is a good place to bet on. They've made that a very difficult bet, and their equities have kind of, shown that it's been a tough road for people to try to get in and sit in. I don't know that anybody who's bought BABA over the last couple of years is very happy. And I think that that's one of those things that we have to look at when we're looking at flow and everything else. And then you combine that with the overall decoupling that's taking place, whether they want to call it that or not, it's happening. People are moving away mainly because the policy is trash. China's been able to exert this type of policy on their people for centuries. It doesn't work in global markets. They're like, oh, you're a dick. I'm just going to go put my money someplace else. Oh, you're a dick. I'm going to move my manufacturing someplace else. And especially when you have India really starting to look as being an emerging market that wants to embrace the West and the ideals of the West, it becomes very, very tricky for a country like China. It's like, how are you going to regain that? Because there is cheap labor outside of China, and we're starting to find it. So that's kind of what I have coming to the day. Pal's speech is going to set the tone. That's it. We got Pal in about 20 minutes. Who wants to go first? Stonk or Sunny? Who's up?
We may have lost Sunny, so I think
Okay, so that's you, Stonks.
that's me. And I was on mute, and it was like, "Do you guys have anything exciting?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, the excitement!" But nobody heard it, so we'll just have to move on here.
Well, we don't want to limit your enthusiasm, Stonks.
Do not hurt other son. Let son want to do your stuff.
All right, Sonny, what you got, bud?
Yeah, all right. Just like you said, we are pretty light on data today. Also, the news cycle is pretty light today, so not too many headlines. A couple of interesting ones were they're talking about President Xi meeting up with the U.S. executives mid efforts to calm investors this week. This is the pre-meeting before the Biden meeting. SPR, Spirit Air Systems, so they're raising 400 million through stock and debt offering. And this is kind of interesting because last week we had the news where Boeing was giving them a whole bunch of money to improve the supply chain and the production line and get rid of all the issues that they've had. So for them to do this offering to raise another 400 million is very interesting. Roblox had the year, so they surpassed all their expectations and they are up nicely this morning, about 12%. Um, EV sales, I think you mentioned it already. So they jumped in China, and I think that's basically the trend. If it jumps in China, we kind of see the movement across the board and all the names going across. Rivian had good ER. So one of the things that came out of the Rivian was they had ended their exclusivity agreement with Amazon now, and they can supply to anyone. And Amazon doesn't get the first dibs anymore. Credit card debt hits new record. Delinquencies are rising, most among the millennials. Um, this news is good for the casino, especially Caesars, MGM. So the Las Vegas Culinary Union has reached a tentative agreement with Caesars. So if they reached with one, MGM and the other ones wouldn't be too far behind. This was a big overhang before the Formula One race that's coming up in Las Vegas. And we should see some pump movement up in CZR. MLCO had ER yesterday, so those came in good. and definitely adds to it. We have a couple of investor events, including Adobe, BMO, mRNA. They're at the AI investor event. They're all going to be updating what they're doing with the generative AI, Chat GPT, things like that. Moderna will be of interest for them to be using, AI, and also to talk about what's in the pipeline and what the expected timelines are, because mRNA has sold off quite a bit ever since they talked about, the COVID vaccine numbers are going away. The government isn't funding it too much. And that was their main moneymaker till this point. Redfin said 1 in 3 U.S. home buyers are paying all cash. It's the highest in nearly a decade. Again, very interesting point. Um, and yeah, that's about it. Very light on the news. I think
Very
everybody's
light,
just
yeah.
waiting on what Powell's going to say.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Stonks, what you got? Let's see if we can wrap this up before Pal takes the mic so we can focus over there.
All right, let's try and do that. Get share going. We got
That would be my responsibility.
yes. All right, so here's crude. Monday morning pre-market. We said Monday morning pre-market was been right around here. No, I guess we were up here. We said, hey, what's going on in the Middle East? This could be, we should be ripping in that kind of situation. We went back to 2014, similar. We said, and because we weren't ripping, we said, well, that could be a signal too short. So we talked about that here. So that was good setup there and paid well. And then I just wanted to highlight one other thing here. We talked about on Voice yesterday, and I kind of fell for this myself. And, I tried to go against the trend, go long crude here yesterday, and I was also explaining on Voice the difference between, the importance of using a 5-minute chart versus a 1-minute chart. So we lost this trend. I was looking for this to be an overshoot of this trend line, and then we would go back up. And you can see it worked as resistance on that longer time frame. But looking at these 5-minute candles, you can see we just continued the trend. We have a big 5-minute bar that closed. But if you're over here on the 1-minute candle, you can see this almost looks like an attempt at a first reversal. Whereas 5 minutes, we're just kind of going straight down, all red candles. So we talked about on Voice yesterday a little bit about the importance of, or how the 5-minute chart can give you a better signal, and just needed to call myself out for attempting to do a longer term trend line overshoot when the trend, go long here when the trend was still down, and kind of highlights the importance of the value of the 5-minute chart. I probably could have gotten out flat or break even ish, but just kind of wanted to give a good visual example because we talked about that yesterday on Voice about the value of the 5-minute chart as opposed to a 1-minute chart can give you more potential. You might be thinking you're seeing more reversal entries than a 5-minute chart. So that's just kind of a little bit of a add on to what we talked about yesterday. Let's see. So we've got we had a close above prior day's high, so we've got a potential smash day on the books, which would be again failed breakout. We're looking, the alert will pop if we break the prior day's low. We fix up the one on Q, so it would be close above prior day's high. So we'll look to break below the low, and the stop would be, if we did break that, your stop would be prior day's high. Let's see. We can start on the Rusty just because I have it pulled up here. We've got above currently, we've got this key level we've been talking about for a while, 1744.3. You can see all these candle bodies, battling, support becomes resistance. Currently working as resistance, so if we are able to get a move to the upside, we're looking for that to pop and hold. Also got this level marked here, equal highs. You can see maybe they did a tick above just to stop out this bear and then sell back down. So I think they'd still be aware that there are stops sitting there. Pink line, new week opening gap, and you can see this as a gap from yesterday's sell off the open. And then we've got this daily fair value gap below. So if we start pushing to the downside, we've got targets. This rip from last week could potentially get a target all the way down at 1678.3. We'll do the ES, and we can probably pause after that one so we can be ready for PAL. So we'll start on this daily here. If we've got this downtrend line, it was really, if we're using all these taps above, there's not really any way I can redraw it. It's like it's down here, it's cutting everything in half. So that could be something to look at above. I've also got this level here. This is kind of like the next grouping of stops. It's kind of relative equal highs with some of this. So if we get up into this 42, 23, 25, that's head on a swivel time to see if we're doing failed breakouts or piss off some bears and send it back down. If you look here below, we've got this pink line again is going to be new opening gap. This is a small one this week. We've got this gap potentially on the 4 hour, this blue box, which would potentially give a run back down to the new week opening gap, which would be that 43.7925, and then the yellow boxes there below would be these daily gaps. Yesterday pre-market, we kind of looked at this looking like a little bull flag. It was pretty clean on the hourly yesterday, and that's kind of what we were looking at. We talked about these double bottom here if they needed to go and stop out these bulls first, but clearly that was not in the plans. And we've got another one here. We almost kind of had a little flag. Now we're going to the upside again. So I think this could be a key level if we're seeking and destroying. We've got 8 minutes till Powell. So I think this could be important levels here. We've got potentially these equal highs. So we're going to know there's a lot of bear stops sitting there. So it's basically who's going to get stopped out first. And what we'd be looking for once we cross one of these levels is an aggressive move in the continuation direction. That would be kind of Mr. T displacement versus if we pop this and immediately push back into the range. That's where we're thinking seek and destroy. Let's take a trade in the opposite direction. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for here. I'll be calling levels in the ES, the Nasdaq's in a similar spot, and we'll see what Powell has to say.
All right, very nice. You guys have anything else you want to add?
I think that's pretty much it. We can do the dollar super quick. Flag, topped it. This is the daily gap. We'll see if we can continue momentum to the upside.
Yeah, and Powell can move the dollar. It's like I've tried to stare down the dollar, multiple times, multiple time frames yesterday and today, and I can't figure out what it wants to do. I really, really can't. It's still fairly elevated from where it should be. But I think the big question is, does it come down back down into that 102, 103 area, or is this thing just going to continue to trade in this range for an extended period of time? But it looks like we're kind of range bound in through here, almost looking like we're trying to megaphone or something over there based on what you just posted. So very interesting chart on the dollar. Very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see the gold is the daily gaps. We just filled one and paused. So it's a little volume imbalance there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a tricky day. Tricky day coming in. But at least Powell is going to give us some type of a candle to play. So there is that. All right, guys. About 6 minutes until Powell opens up, about 20 minutes until the market opens up. I think we covered everything that needs to be covered. What else can I say? Oh, flow. Let's talk a little bit about flow just really, really fast. Apple continues to get activity to the upside, as does Microsoft, as does Adobe. Those guys are getting pretty ridiculous call flow. Tesla has been lagging substantially, but caught a nice bid towards the end of the day yesterday and had a nice little wobble up. Some of the other names to kind of look at, I think those are going to be the two. There is weakness in financial. SoFi in particular, some of that flow is very, very blatantly bearish on SoFi. Freeman posted this morning that I believe we have some selling within the company, some pretty big stakes being sold off. So I think that is not exactly helping the bull run over there. So that's all I got, guys. Anything else you want to add?
No, ready.
Going
Good.
once, twice, 3 times. All right. Everybody have a good
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Yep.